Daniil Tarasov is legit, guys. And should the Blue Jackets extend Alex Nylander? We're talking about all of that on today's Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I am, as always, your host Jay Foster, here to give you the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day every single day. Locked On Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms, over on YouTube and on SiriusXM. I also have to let you know that today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. So the Blue Jackets won last night, which I think surprised literally everyone, including them and also including the Colorado Avalanche. But I'm going to enjoy it. I know that we've been joking about the Blue Jackets going on a hot streak to finish the season, ruining their drafting position, but it still feels good to get a win. They've had so few of them this season that I'm looking at this and I'm like, yeah, okay. I wasn't expecting this win. They had no right beating the Colorado Avalanche, but they went and did it anyway. Or rather, Daniil Tarasov went and did it. He faced 47 shots, or 46 shots was the final total. Made 45 saves. Had an expected goals against of 4.38. So basically what that means is people who aren't, up on what expected goals for and expected goals against are, based on where the shooters are shooting from, the likelihood of that being a goal based on whether it was a goal in the past, and that all kind of comes together to be expected goals for and expected goals against. So based on the kind of the shots that he was seeing and the shots that the Avalanche were taking, he was supposed to allow almost 4.5 goals. So because there's no half goals in hockey, he was probably supposed to allow 4 goals, four or 5 goals in this game. And he allowed 1 goal. So he was excellent. Far and away the best Blue Jacket on the ice. I think other guys had good games. I think Alex Nylander, who had been quiet for a couple of games, decided to remind everyone that, hey, I know how scoring works, which is, again, really, really fun. I enjoy watching him play a lot, and we're going to talk a little bit more about Nylander in a bit here because we need to talk about whether or not he gets an extension. In terms of other guys who had good games, I thought Damon Severson had a surprisingly good game, which not surprisingly, but I was watching him play and I was like, oh, okay, he's making good plays. He's contributing defensively. He didn't have the best offensive night, but defensively, he didn't give up very much at all, which when you're facing a team like the Avalanche, you're going to give up a lot. Conversely, I thought Werenski had a solid night offensively, but wasn't great defensively. But he was matched up against McKinnon all night. So, it is what it is. I thought the Christensen-Provorov pairing really struggled. Really, really struggled. The Provorov-Bean pairing, not Christensen. I thought they really struggled, and that's frustrating because there's no reason for that pairing to struggle. I think that's on paper a really great pairing, but it just wasn't working. And we've seen all season the struggles that Provorov has had defensively, but he's not creating offensively either, and that's the problem. I'm fully willing to forgive a bad defensive night for a defenseman if you're creating things offensively, and vice versa if you're creating things defensively or squashing things defensively. I guess I'm willing to forgive a bad offensive night, but if you're not going to create anything and you're going to give up a ton, that's where I start to get frustrated. And like Provorov wasn't the only example of this. Johnny Gaudreau created some, but gave up a lot more. I think literally everyone. I'm just looking at the expected goals for here, and I think literally everyone on this team gave up more than they created, which again makes sense. It's the Avalanche. The best players in terms of allowing the most and conceding the least. Damon Severson, who was at 49.5%, and Brendan Gaunce, who was at 49.3%. Everyone else was worse than that. Provorov, I believe, was far and away the worst at 14.4%, but no one had a positive expected goal for share, which is extremely frustrating. When you have a goalie playing like this is all at 5-on-5, by the way. This is not at even strength because this is not at all strength because again, power play penalty kill is a whole other thing. When you have a goalie playing like Daniil Tarasov was, you have to give him some kind of support. And in fairness to the Blue Jackets, they gave him more support than the last time these two teams faced off, where they had, I believe, 1 goal on 20-something shots against the Avalanche, which is not good enough, quite frankly. The Avalanche made a really strange choice by starting Justus Anunen in this game, which I believe was like his back-to-back starts for him. I'm not sure if Georgiev is injured or what's happening there, but I thought that was a curious choice. Maybe they just decided, hey, it's the Blue Jackets. We can probably give them our backup. 1 goal on 24 shots in the last time these two teams faced. In goal for the Avalanche was in fact Alexander Georgiev. So maybe that's the difference maker here, is that the last time the Blue Jackets got a little bit goalied. They also got massively outshot in a way that is painful to look at. Again, they took more than double. Which was not quite, they did not quite get doubled up on shots this time. They had 25 and the Avalanche had 46, but the Blue Jackets scored 3 goals on Anunen, added an empty netter after just a true comedy of affairs trying to watch this team score on the empty net of Cole Sillinger missed a pass and then tried to get it back to Texier. Texier tried to hit the net and missed. And then there was some scrambling. And it was, again, very much kind of Benny Hill music playing over the top of them, just kind of circling the net. And then finally, I think Cole Sillinger managed to bank one in off the post. But it was they made it way harder than it had to be. They were like 6 feet away from the goal the entire time, and they couldn't get the puck in the net. It was incredibly funny. Would have been less funny if the Avalanche had turned around and like scored a couple of equalizers to send the game to overtime. But since the Blue Jackets won and since they ended up scoring that empty net goal, I am way more willing to laugh than I would have been had they not done that. Something else of note, and we're going to talk about this in a minute here, special teams were better. Not great, but better. Or at least the penalty kill was great. The power play continues to not do anything, but I'm going to take the median there and just enjoy that they didn't give up a power play goal to that specific power play, because I'm just going to pull up what the league stats are. So I don't think the Avalanche have the number 1 power play, but if they're lower than 3rd, I would be extremely, extremely shocked. Hey, they are currently 6th. So I am shocked, but they're scoring at a rate of 24.5%. So the Blue Jackets had 4 penalty kills last night. So odds are they would have conceded on at least one of them. And they didn't do that. So good job. Good job, Blue Jackets. I think mostly good job to Daniil Tarasov, who I still think a little bit should be allowed to chase the defenders for sport. But he made all 10 of the 10. He made all 10 saves on 10 power play shots from the 4 Avalanche power plays. Although I don't even think. Let me just pull up the power play time. 7 minutes, 17 seconds. So there was one abbreviated power play for the Avalanche. I think the Blue Jackets had the power play and then took a penalty. So it was 4-on-4. And then the Avalanche had a short power play after that. So in just over 7 minutes, they had 23 shot attempts, which that sure is a number. Like, what are we doing? They had only 5 of those shot attempts were high danger, so like that's better at least. But still, like, woof, you know. Good. Like, again, just eternal shout out to Daniil Tarasov, because he was the best player on either team, quite frankly, last night, and he fully deserved this win. And I'm really glad that they managed to figure out how to score enough goals to give him that. Annoyed that Chris Wagner scored his first goal of the season in like the 70th game of the season to break the shutout bid, but a win is a win, and he had almost a 980 save percentage on the night. So I think he'll probably take that. In a minute, we're going to talk a little bit about Alex Nylander, because he has 10 goals in 17 games with the Blue Jackets, which is matching his career high. Should the Blue Jackets extend him? How much money should they give him? How long should they extend him for? We're going to talk about all of that in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. First, I'm going to tell you about Sleeper. The season is almost over, and I think the less said, the better about the Blue Jackets season. But regardless of that, I want to remind you that you could win big by playing Daily Fantasy Hockey on Sleeper, the official daily fantasy app of the Locked On NHL Network. They're our number one choice for daily fantasy sport, because you can win 100 times your cash with just pick 8 player stats correctly, and you're going to win 100 times your money. They've also got things like NFL, NBA, MLB, college football, but let's focus on the hockey, because let's face it, that's what we're here for. All you have to do is pick whether guys like McDavid, Ovechkin, Crosby, McKinnon are going to record more or less than their sleeper projection for things like goals, assists, saves, plus minus, and more in any given game. All you need to do to win 100 times your money is predict 8 of those stats correctly, and then you're in. So start paying attention, nail your picks, so you can start winning big. Use promo code LOCKEDONNHL and you'll get to a $100 match on your first deposit. Terms and conditions apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL. See Sleeper's terms of use for details and locational availability. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day, and we're talking about Alex Nylander now, who, like I said, has 10 goals in 17 games as a Blue Jacket. Genuinely might be the leading scorer of any kind of trade deadline acquisition. He wasn't necessarily a trade deadline acquisition, but I would love to know if I can fudge with the NHL.com stats to see who's the highest scorer. But in 17 games as a Blue Jacket, he's got 10 goals, 3 assists, almost definitely leads the team in scoring in that time. And has quite simply been excellent for this team. Went quiet for a little while there. I know he was dealing with, I think he was sick for a minute, but still played because it's the NHL. Missed 1 game, I think, with an upper body injury, maybe 2 games. But he's back and has decided that he's going to finish strong. The Blue Jackets only have 7 games left, so it's unlikely that he scores 20 goals this season, but I do think it would be very funny. I do think he could finish as high as 15 goals on the season. It would be his first 15-goal season. Like I said, his career high is 10, which he did in the 2021 season, I believe, with the Chicago Blackhawks. He played 65 games and had 10 goals and I think 16 assists for 26 points. So he's probably not going to hit that mark, but still truly so impressive what he's doing on a very, very bad team, you know? And when you look at what the Blue Jackets traded for him, they gave up Emil Bemstrom, who needed a change of scenery, hasn't really figured it out in Pittsburgh yet, did score a goal last night, which you love to see. He only needs to score 4 more for that 6th-round pick to become a 3rd-round pick, which is very exciting. So that's what they gave up was Emil Bemstrom, and in return they got Alex Nylander and a pick, which could be as high as a 3rd-round pick. I think it's in like 2027, which is not a real year, but it's still like the fact that they got Alex Nylander and a pick to basically get rid of Emil Bemstrom, because that's what this was. I think it was both guys need a change of or not necessarily both guys need a change of scenery, but Nylander couldn't stick it with the Penguins for whatever reason. Bemstrom was struggling with the Blue Jackets and has been for some time. Flip them. Maybe a change of scenery is good for them. Unfortunate that they take the Wilkes-Barre Penguins' best scorer in Alex Nylander, but again, he has been just truly excellent for the Blue Jackets, which is not anything I expected. And I've been saying this for a while now. Like, yes, he's going to slow down. Yes, he's going to go cold. But I've been saying that for like 6 or 7 games now, it feels like, and he's just not doing it. So maybe this is his coming out party. He's still not very old. I think he's 24, I want to say, maybe a little bit older. He's 26 years old. So like he's not like he's not the youngest, but also he's not like, this is not I would not be shocked if he suddenly decided to be good in the NHL, because it happens sometimes. Look at Michael Bunting, for example, who, the oldest man alive, was a 27-year-old rookie and got nominated for the Calder, So I'm just going to continue enjoying this Nylander ride as long as it goes. In terms of extensions, I am pretty solidly in the camp of, yes, let's extend him. But I don't know what the plan is there. Obviously, they're not really making any kind of moves right now, because they're waiting for the new GM. They made a couple at the deadline, which I liked all of the moves that they made at the deadline, pretty much. But I get that they don't want to do any kind of big swings because they don't know who's going to be in charge. They probably hire a new GM, I would hope, by the draft. My guess is that when the season wraps up, the interviews and everything will suddenly all ramp up. So currently he's only making $775. So like, I genuinely would be happy to give him double that for a season, or near enough. So give him like 1.5. I think he's definitely earned that. Give him a 1-year contract. Hey, here's a raise for being great at the tail end of the season. Give him between 1 and 1.5 million, and say, hey, if you can do it again for the whole season, then we'll talk again in the summer and see what we can do. Like, it's going to be a show me contract, I think. But I don't think it's going to be very much, because, like, again, they've got a ton of guys that need it. Kirill Marchenko needs a new contract this summer. Cole Sillinger needs a new contract this summer. Igor Chinikov needs a new contract this summer. And so does Kent Johnson. So these are the guys that we're looking at as like, oh, okay, these guys need to re-sign these guys. There's a couple of other guys that, like, Christensen's contract is up, Bean's contract is up, Brendan Gaunt's, Carson Meyer, their contracts are both up. Jack Greaves needs a new contract at the end of this season. He's at the end of his ELC. I imagine all of those guys will probably get re-signed to like 2-way contracts at least. Again, Tyler Angle, Josh Dunn, Jacob Zboril, Nick Blankenburg, Marcus Bjork, Billy Sweezy, Markham Subban also up as well. Again, I imagine those guys will either get signed or they'll move on. I'm not like, they'll re-sign the guys that I think they'll re-sign, and they'll probably move on from guys like Subban, guys like Zboril. I think Nick Blankenburg will probably get, again, another probably a 2-way contract. I think Sweezy will probably get re-signed. Marcus Bjork, it could go either way on. I think Angle gets re-signed. I think Josh Dunn gets re-signed. But the point here is, I think Alex Nylander, it's kind of a weird time for him to come in and like try and scoop not a big contract, but if he wanted, 2 or 3 years, like, I think that this is a bad time for him to try and do that, because again, they've got to figure out what they're doing with Johnson, Chinikov. Texier needs a new contract as well. Marchenko, Sillinger. There's a lot of moving parts there. So it'll be interesting to see kind of who stays, who goes. But I definitely think that he has earned an extension. I just wouldn't sign him forever. don't do the David Clarkson, like give him $5 million for 5 years because he had one good season thing. But I could definitely see them giving him, a little bit of a raise up to maybe, a $1.5 million for 1 year and saying, okay, you had a really great 25 or so games with us last season. Let's see you do it for all 82 this season, and then we'll talk. But I also could see them signing him to I think it'll either be 1 year at slightly higher, or I think it'll be 2 years at just under $1 million. That's kind of where I'm at right now with the extension, but I definitely think that he is a Blue Jacket next year, which is a good thing. We're going to take a quick break, and when we get back, we'll talk about some playoff stuff. We'll check in with the NCAA guys. We'll check in with the only player that played for the only CHL team that was active last night in their matchup. We'll talk about the Ottawa 67s and Luca Pinelli and how his game was last night. That's all coming up in just a second here on Locked On Blue Jackets. Welcome back to Locked On Blue Jackets. Thanks for making us your first listen of the day every single day. Let's talk Frozen 4, because both of the Blue Jackets that made it through the first round are going to be there. So obviously William Whitelaw's season was ended by Quinnipiac, and Gavin Brindley for Michigan, Aiden Hreshuk for Boston College will both be traveling to the Frozen 4, which is very exciting. I kind of guessed that Hreshuk would be there just because BC is such a monster this season. But it was really great to see Michigan take down the team that beat them for the Big Ten. Michigan State beat Michigan in the Big Ten championship game in overtime to win. But so really great to see Michigan bounce back and beat Michigan State. It was 5-2. Gavin Brindley had a goal and an assist. He had 5 shots on goal, and I believe scored the game-winning goal. If I can find the here it is. No, it wasn't the game-winning goal, but it was the go-ahead goal, or it was the 4-2 goal, basically. I can't think what the word is for adding to a lead right now. And then he had a primary assist on the 5-2 goal that really kind of put the dagger in the Michigan State season. Great game from him. Great game from Michigan. Again, wasn't expecting them to win this game. They came into it as the lower seed. I think they were the 4th seed versus the 1st seed, which is really fun. I like it when the underdogs win, and it feels weird to consider Michigan an underdog, but I'm excited to see them in the Frozen 4. Unfortunately, I do think that in their first game, they'll be playing Boston College, so only one of those teams will advance to the final. I'm just going to double check that because I'm questioning myself a little bit here. Yeah, they're going to be playing Boston College, and then the winner of that game will play the winner of Denver and BU in the championship. So only one of our guys will make it to the championship. My money is probably on Aiden Hreshuk. I think Boston beats Michigan in this. But man, it would be fun if Michigan came out and beat Boston College. So speaking of Boston College, obviously they beat Quinnipiac in overtime after Quinnipiac, I believe, was up 3-1 for a significant portion of that game. BU came back, tied the game at 4-4, won it in overtime. Again, just another incredible game from Ryan Leonard. Has another 2 goals as a freshman, just doing fully insane things. Hayden Hreshuk did not appear on the score sheet. He had 1 shot on goal and was a -1 on the night. That's unexpected, frankly. But again, still fun to see 2 Blue Jackets in the Frozen 4, and at least one of them will be in the championship game. So that's fun. No other Blue Jackets prospect has been active since the last time we did one of these roundups, I don't think, except for Luca Pinelli in the OHL. That I think was the only game that happened last night was the 67s versus Brantford. Brantford was winning the series 1-0. They opened the scoring in this game, and then the Ottawa 67 said, actually, we're going to score 1 million goals. They win 6-3. Luca Pinelli assists on the game-winning goal, and scores the game tying goal, shorthanded as well. So goal and an assist. He is up to 3 points in this series, 2 goals, 1 assist in 2 games, which again, that's about what I expected, and is he's just really fun to watch. Like every time I turn on the 67s game, I'm like, man, is that Luca Pinelli doing something insane? And the answer usually is yes. So if you have the ability to watch like the CHL hockey, to watch the OHL, highly recommend. The 67s probably will not win this series, but Luca Pinelli is doing some really, really fun things. So that's my little roundup. No one else in the CHL was active last night, and the next round of the playoffs in La Liga don't start until Thursday, so we won't have a Keskinen update for you for a couple of days now, but we'll talk more about the CHL tomorrow. I'm really enjoying doing these little playoff roundups. I think they're I'm enjoying them anyway. Hopefully you guys are as well. Tomorrow we will be talking a little bit about the Monsters, probably, who are continuing to struggle. We'll check in with the Blue Jackets, who are playing, I believe, the Islanders on Thursday. So there's a little bit until they're back on the ice, but we'll check in with them, see who's healthy, see who's going to be healthy. Talk about whether Adam Fantilli comes back this season or not. But that's all from me today. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making us your first listen of the day every single day. Locked on Blue Jackets is free and available on all podcast platforms, over on YouTube and on SiriusXM. And you can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the show at LO_Blue Jackets on Twitter and also now on Instagram. So if you don't follow me over there, feel free to do so. And thank you once again for listening. Until tomorrow, make sure you stay locked on.